Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2024 Upper Manhattan Real Estate Report. We've had a busy quarter. This is the first quarter report. This is from Harlem Lofts. We're breaking this report into two segments. The first one that we're doing today is the townhouse analysis, and then we'll follow up with the condominium analysis, and that will comprise the full report. I'm Robb, the founder of the firm.
My name's Gareth John. I'm the research analyst for the firm.
And full disclosure, I haven't seen this data yet, but we keep up with it daily. But Gareth's done a good job putting it together. So let's see what we have here for the townhouse report. We cover these zip codes. That's Central Park here in the middle and all above. We do that both for condos and for townhouses. That's our focus area. We carry into townhouses. We do 1 and 2 families, 3 families, which are investment properties, so 3+ families, and then we concentrate on S.R.Os as well.
Okay, so the story in first quarter 2024 has been one of a recovery after the interest rate induced slump in late 22 throughout 2023. So compared to looking at year-on-year data, so that's quarter 2 2023 to quarter 1 2024 in comparison to the same period 2022 to 2023. So 2022 to 23 was very quiet. Buyers were discouraged by interest rates. Compared to that period in 2023 to 24, we saw 77 transactions versus 64 in the same period last year. So that's a 20% recovery in sales. The volume, so the total amount spent, didn't change. The reason for that was because although the number of sales went up 20%, prices went down 20%, and it was that price reduction that drove the recovery. So that was compensating for the increased price of borrowing, essentially. So if we put that into context, 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020, those were average years. They saw 93 and 86 sales. So even though we saw 77 sales, which was a 20% recovery year on year in the past 12 months, that's still lower than average. Okay, so let's move on. So let's kind of look at that in more kind of depth. You can see sales on the left and volume on the right. 2018, 2019, 2019. 2020, purple and blue bars on the left of the left-hand graph, 93 and 86 sales, down to 58 in 2020 to 2021. That's COVID. A big rebound in 21 to 22, 111 sales, and then back down to 64 in 2022 to 23. The market overheated and the economy overheated, and the government increased interest rates to cool things off, which was very effective. Prices decreased by 20% to give buyers inducements to buy, to account for the increased price of borrowing, and that has led to a 20% recovery. But prices have come down 20%, therefore the total amount spent has not changed. Okay, if we look at that in a even more depth, quarterly, we've got 2020 is in orange, 21 in grey, 22 in green, 23 in red, and 2024 in yellow. The numbers here show quarter 1 sales in these 5 years, and you can see that in 2023 quarter 1 we saw only 13 sales and 21 this year. So the reduced prices are having the desired effect. The market is coming back.
Gareth, can I confirm one thing? In the previous slides, we had only gone up maybe 10 properties from last year to this year-on-year sales, but it looks like this quarter compared to last quarter, went up. So all of that recovery was done in the first quarter of this year.
Pretty much,
so it kind of waters it down when we look at year-over-year averages, but we compare quarter to quarter. Is it a 50% increase or something?
Yeah, so here we're comparing quarter 1 to quarter 1 because you know in November, December, people really aren't in the market to buy. The spring market comes along February, March, April, and things start to move. and things have moved a lot faster this year than they did in Q1 last year.
So
21 sales kind of already so far this year. Yeah.
So just looking at this is a great chart, but correct me if I'm wrong. Before COVID, we had a great quarter coming out of 23 sales. And then 2021 was the best year we've had in the last 10. That was 20 sales. And now I'm looking at 21 sales in the first quarter of this year, outpacing
So
one of the better years we've ever had in 21.
Yes. So actually, the market started to come back Q1 to 21, but then it was real gangbusters in Q1 22, and that we had 31 sales. So we're at 21 now, which is decent for a first quarter. We're not up at 2021 levels, but it's certainly back to business as usual, pretty much.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, so if we look here at on the left is Townhouse average price year on year, and price per square foot. You can see in 2024 or 2023 to 2024 in red on the left-hand graph and the right-hand graph, you can see that the prices and price per square foot, those are both down about 15 to 20%. Sellers realized buyers were not buying and reduced their prices, supply and demand, and in response to the decreased prices, sales have gone up. Okay, these graphs are a little bit busy, but they are quite informative. If we look at now price and price per square foot by property class, you mentioned, Rob, we deal with residential townhouses, rental investment, and S.R.O. S.R.O. are the old boarding houses. They are kind of renovation investment, and they're a kind of a special class. Here we've got price on the left, price per square foot on the right. Blue is residential, orange is rental, and purple is S.R.Os. And you can see that starting in about Q2 2022, rental and residential prices started to drop as sellers realized that the market had stalled. And they both dropped they have both dropped up to now, the far right of both graphs, by about 15 to 25% year on year. If you look at the purple line here, the S.R.Os came down a little bit to start with, but then they've actually recovered or they've remained stable and actually recovered and started to go up. This is because while residential and rental sales were impacted by interest rates, S.R.Os, buyers have started to realize that they have legal loopholes that can make them very advantageous in terms of short-term returns. They can legally be used for short-term rentals, so Airbnb. So investors are buying them, using them as legal bed and breakfasts, and they're getting great returns, much better than the interest rate currently, and the returns from S.R.Os are outstripping those from rental investment properties, traditional 3, 4, 5 families.
There are some rules, and check with your attorney on the rules surrounding that, because they go deep. And yes,
yeah. So this is for serious investors that know what they're doing, essentially, right? Okay, and then this is reflected too. If we look at the number of sales, blue residential, orange is rental investment, grey here is S.R.Os. You can see that the orange bars show that in the past, from 2021 to 2024, past 3 years, the orange bars you can see have dropped from 45 sales in 2021 to 22 to 23 in the past 12 months. On the other hand, S.R.Os have gone from 25 to 25, so they're holding steady, and that's because educated buyers know that they're a good investment. Okay, so that shows the market history, sale number and price, and these parameters allow us to predict market trajectory. So let's go from the past to the present, and then look at the future.
I like the future.
Okay. So in 2022, sellers flooded the market as rates increased. That was a That equation led to market stagnation. As mentioned, sellers realized that the market had stalled, and they have reduced prices pretty much by 20%, except in the S.R.O. Space.
Can I add something there?
Yeah, please.
If you look at our monthly market update reports, you'll see, I think it was February or March, we predicted that if you needed to sell your property, I was a little nervous about this prediction, but in that video, you'll see that we say if you need to sell your property, you're going to need to reduce it by 20% to overcome the interest rates. And that's exactly where things played out. So that was one of our predictions that came true. Not all of them did.
Right. So so that's the price reductions have led to increased sales. The increased sales have meant that the inventory spikes that we've seen in the past couple of years haven't happened so much this year, and that's because inventory is coming on the market, but also houses are going off the market as they go into contract. You can see here on these three graphs, we've got current inventory, townhouse inventory on the left here in blue from April 2020 to now. We've got the percentage of houses with discounts or listings with discounts in green in the center, and we've got the number of listings going into contract or in contract, in fact, on the right in purple. And you can see in 2022 to 23, interest rates reduce sales, cause spikes in inventory right here and right here. This is in late spring, early summer 2022, 2023. Right now, that's been blunted. What happened in response to these spikes in inventory was that in the center here, sellers started to offer discounts. You can see over half of listings were offering discounts throughout most of last year, 55%, and those were about 10 to 15% of the initial asking price. So the number of properties going into contract has increased. Inventory is decreasing. As a result, now the number of discounts is decreasing, and the number of properties going into contract is slowly, it's going up and down, but it's steadily increasing, currently at 12. Okay, so what's driving this kind of recovery? Is it the really expensive boutique townhouses? Is it the shells or the very low priced properties? Well, it's a little bit in between, but in general, it's the lower end of the market that's driving the recovery. Right now, of the 95 listings on the market, 72, that's 76%, are priced below $3 million. 1 second. Of the 12 in contract listings, 10, that's 83%, sorry for the typo, are priced below 3 million. And of the 67 sales year on year in the past 12 months, 94% sold below $3 million. The lower end of the market is dominating listings, in contract listings, and sales, and that's that makes sense, Rob. No, I mean,
that's what we're seeing, and also rents are up right now too. Rents are
right.
Well.
So if somebody's getting a mortgage, I mean, if mortgage rates are high, they're probably going to be more restricted in what they can afford, even if prices have dropped. So
the $4 million homes that we have, you're typically going to see, these mansions, these 1 and 2 family homes that, aren't really rental properties. So the aggressive rental market doesn't help you, where right now the aggressive rents are kind of overcompensating for the interest rate rises. So there's the less expensive properties with the high rents, the interest rates don't affect them as much, as long as rents stay high. And they're high right now.
Okay, so that's the summary for the townhouse market is that it faced higher interest rates in 2022 to 23. Discounts occurring in response to that had fueled market recovery. This recovery is being driven by sales under $3 million. The high-end recovery is being blunted by interest rates. The market's normalizing. Buyers and sellers are finally on the same page, and properties are going into contracts. As you can see, we track the market closely. and that allows us to predict what's going to happen next.
I'll say that in our monthly video updates, I do those, and you'll see that you'll hear that our firm has been more aggressive, or we have more in contract and more negotiations going on now than we did in first quarter of 21 and 22 for our firm. I'm guessing that the other firms are doing just as well, and you're going to see a real spike in contract and closed listings this fall. I mean, this spring. I don't know what's going to happen this summer, and then what's going to happen is I predict that the interest rates will start coming down in the fall to keep this momentum going. So I think it's going to be a very good year this year. I know for our firm, we've never been busier for first quarter, and last year was just a disaster. So maybe it feels better just because last year was so bad, but we're really busy now, and we have a lot going on, more than any January, February, and March that I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, so as you mentioned, Rob, I mean, the market comes in cycles. We've just endured a down part of the cycle, and now it's time to have some fun, really.
Right.
Help people sell their properties and help buyers get a great deal.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
thank you, Gareth, for the information, and stay tuned. We'll be back with the condo report soon.